There comes a point where life starts to feel like a vacuum rather than something meaningful. From my own experience, this has been quite challenging to navigate. Not feeling a drive anymore that I used to feel. Things I used to enjoy feels quite flat. And I'm left with this sense that there's nothing pulling me in any direction, and I don't feel the need to rest as well. This space that I find myself in, and maybe you can relate to this as well, can feel a bit challenging because it's no narrative, no story, nowhere to go, nothing really. It's empty. It's not dead or stagnation either. It's more so that it's a potential that lives there. And it's easy to get ahead of yourself. And you start to manufacture a sense of meaning instead of allowing it to emerge in its own timing. What I mean by this is quite direct. So, you're here. You don't feel a drive. And you try to push yourself into motion. You try to manufacture different containers, like go to exercise, you have a routine, for example, so that you can feel alive, right? But what this does is to force meaning when there is something still arising slowly. A very, very good example is I watched the TV show The Voice a couple of days ago with my fiancée here in Norway. And one of the judges there are new. And she had this question: how do I know which singer I should vote for when there are so many good singers, right? What is the signs that I should go for? What's the strategy here? She sat with that question, and then they moved on with the program, and suddenly there was this singer coming up on stage with her own song that she has written. And she captivated the whole studio. Everyone was just sitting there, speechless. They recognized something. And this judge then said to her, like, there's no question of a doubt that you will be on the show for the next stages, right? Because when something is true, you don't need to question it. You feel it. And that's the same thing here, that you're sitting here in this kind of like void, or I don't even like it to call it a void anymore. It's more so space before expression. where you don't need to rest and you don't have a pull to do anything or create anything. And it's easy to judge this state of being as bad, and it's not, right? Men Tor, vänt. Snart, vi ska gå ut. Snart. Få vänt lite, okay? But instead, see it for what it is. It's a space before expression has arisen. And just as the example with the voice and this singer that came on stage, you will not question when there is a very organic pull towards creation or acting upon something that calls you forth, right? It's more so that you just feel like, okay, now something is stirring up. I feel like I want to engage, right? You want to move. You want to express. You want to create something. Not because you should or so that you can feel alive, but rather because something in you is alive and wants to be expressed. And that's the key difference, right? And this is how you live in balance with life. Because if you force yourself into motion and you force a direction upon yourself, because you should have a plan, you should have a direction, you should know what you want for your life, then you're just forcing yourself into a corner, belittling yourself, and sooner or later, this will feel very imprisoning instead of liberating. So the key here is not to wait for something to happen, but rather relate to yourself in this space where you don't want to rest, but you don't want to move either. You're sitting there. And it's quite silent, right? Become comfortable here. And when you find it within, expression will emerge naturally from within again.